Hello students, this is Shachi. Welcome to my channel Track Chemistry. Today's topic, Matter in our Surroundings Part 4, is for class 9th. For previous topics, please refer Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3. The link of these videos have been given in description box. Students, before starting, I want to remind you to subscribe my channel for getting information about further important uploads. And press the like button if you like this video. And share this video with your friends. So now come with me and let's track chemistry. Our topic is states of matter. Students, if you look around you, you can see a variety of objects, and if you have been asked to discuss about physical state in which they exist, you will conclude that materials around us exist in three common states. What are these three common states? These three common states are solid, liquid and gaseous state. I would like to mention few examples here. In the first category, I am writing the examples which exist as solid state, like book, table, chair, pen, etc. So all these examples exist in solid state. They exist as solid. In the second category, I am writing the examples of materials which exist in liquid state, like milk, coffee, tea, lemonade, etc. Lemonade means nibu pani. All these materials which I have listed in second category exist as liquid. Now, in the third category, I'll write some gases like oxygen gas, which exists as O2, carbon dioxide, whose formula is CO2, hydrogen gas H2, nitrogen gas N2, etc. So, all these materials represent the gaseous state. They exist as gases. Children, after this discussion, definitely you must be thinking that what is the reason for occurrence of matter in three different states? So for answering this question, you have to look at molecular level. I mean to say, you have to see the nature of particles which are making these materials. So answer of this question will be discussed in detail in next parts, but at this stage, I want to say only one point, that in solid state, the particles which are present in them are very closely packed. This is the reason that properties of solids are different from the properties of liquid and gaseous state. So after this discussion, we can conclude that matter around us exists in three different states, which are solid, liquid and gas. And the reason for difference in the properties of these three different states is the difference in arrangement of particles in them. Now we will learn about the solid state. Children, for understanding the properties of solid state, we will perform a simple activity. In this activity, we will collect few solid items. I am collecting a pen, a book, a needle and a piece of wooden stick. Now keep these items on a paper and try to make an outline around them. You will find that all these items have a definite shape and distinct boundaries. Boundary means surface. And they have a definite volume. Children, do you know what is volume? Volume is the space occupied by an object. So we can conclude that solids have definite shape, distinct boundaries, definite volume. Now children, try to change the shape of these objects by applying force on them. What do you think? Will you be able to change the shape of these objects by applying force on them? Definitely you must be knowing the answer that solids resist change in shape when force is applied on them. because the particles are very closely packed in them. If you are trying to change their shape by applying force on them, the shape cannot be changed. If you are applying excessive force, the solids may break. So we can conclude that solids are rigid. Now try to compress these items. As I discussed with you, the particles in solids are very closely packed. So you cannot compress them. So that's why we can conclude that solids are not compressible. Now, what do you think? Will these items diffuse into each other? Children, the solids cannot diffuse into each other, but some of the solids like potassium permanganate, copper sulfate, sugar, salt, etc. undergo diffusion when dissolved in water. So we can conclude that solids cannot diffuse into each other, but some of the solids can diffuse in some suitable solvent like water. So from all this discussion, we observe that solids have a definite shape, distinct boundaries and fixed volume, and they have negligible compressibility. One more point we have seen that when we apply force on them, solids resist a change in shape. The reason is that the particles in solids are very closely packed. So on applying force on them, they resist change in shape. But if you apply excessive force, the solids may break. So as you cannot change the shape of solids by applying force on them, so we conclude that solids are rigid. After learning the properties of solids, you must be thinking, what is the internal structure of solid? Why they have properties which are totally different from the properties of liquid and gaseous state? As I told you, for answering these questions, we have to look at the internal structure of solids. So at this stage, we can conclude that particles in solids are closely packed. We can say that they have negligible intermolecular space. Second point is that intermolecular forces of attraction in solids are very strong. So as the intermolecular forces of attraction in solids are very strong and intermolecular spaces are negligible, we can understand why solids have definite shape, why they are rigid, and why they are non-compressible. Now one more important point I would like to mention here. This point is density. Solids have very high density. Children, what is density? Density is mass per unit volume. From this formula, D is equal to m by V, where m is mass, V is volume, and D is density. You can conclude that if particles are closely packed, then mass per unit volume will be very high. And if mass per unit volume is high, density will be higher. So as you know that in case of solids, the particles are very closely packed. They have negligible intermolecular spaces. That's why density of solids is higher than the density of liquids and gases. Children, at this stage, another interesting example I would like to mention here. The example is about water. You all know that At a temperature 0 degrees centigrade or below 0 degrees centigrade, water exists as ice. Ice represents the solid state. And at the room temperature, water exists in liquid state. So children, you must have seen that density of ice is lesser than the density of water. What is the reason? Why water is showing this anomalous behavior? Why water is showing this exceptional behavior? The reason is that during the formation of ice, there is a large space present between molecules. So because of the presence of large space, mass per unit volume will become less, and hence density of ice will be lesser than the density of water. What happens when this ice melts into water? When this ice melts into water, the empty space will be filled. That's why the density of water will be higher than the density of ice. And children, one more important point I would like to mention here, this anomalous property of water, this unique property of water helps in survival of aquatic lives. Because in cold countries where the temperature reaches 0 or sub-zero, sub-zero means negative temperature, water freezes into ice. And as the density of ice is lesser than the density of water, it will form an upper layer. This upper layer of ice acts as an insulation also. So therefore it will prevent the further freezing of the water which is present below it, as a result of which aquatic lives can survive. So that's why we can say that this unique property of water, which is called as anomalous property, helps in survival of aquatic lives. The structure of ice where large vacant spaces are present between molecules is called as open cage structure. Children, few more interesting examples I would like to mention here. Look at this diagram. In this diagram, you can see that a rubber band which can be stretched. So you must be thinking, in spite of being a solid, how a rubber band can be stretched. Children, there are some substances which show this property, and this property is called as elasticity. So what is elasticity? Elasticity is the property in which a substance can change its shape. It can be stretched when force is applying on it, and once the applied force is removed, it regains its shape. But if you apply excessive force, the rubber band can break also. So we can conclude that rubber band is a solid, but it possesses the property of elasticity. Because of the property of elasticity, it can be stretched on applying force. Now in this diagram, you can see that some sand grains are poured into a container. You may think that when sand grains are poured into the container, they are taking the shape of container, but it is not true. You have to look at the shape of a single sand grain. The shape of a single sand grain remains same, whether you take it in your hand or you put it in a plate or you put it in a beaker or you put it anywhere. The shape of a single sand grain will always remain same. So you can conclude that sand grain is an example of solid. The similar you will find for some other solids like salt, sugar, etc. I hope this point is clear to you. Children, another interesting example is of a sponge. You can see in this picture a sponge is shown here. From the picture, it is clear that a sponge has a porous structure. Porous structure means it has minute pores in which air remains trapped. So once you press the sponge, the air which was trapped in these pores comes out. So in spite of being a solid, a sponge can be compressed. What is the reason? Reason is that because of its porous structure, the air remains trapped in its pores. So once you squeeze it, the air which was present in these pores comes out. Children, I hope this point is clear to you. Children, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope each and every point is clear to you. Please subscribe my channel and press the like button if you like this video. Don't forget to watch the next part. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.